yesterday called for calm over the latest travel advisories by some Western countries alerting on impending attacks in Nigeria. It assured Nigerians of adequate security measures to thwart any possible terror attack in the Federal Capital Territory and the 36 states of the Federation. In a statement issued yesterday, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said there is no cause for alarm despite the latest travel advisories by some Western countries. He said security agencies in the country have not let down their guard despite the fact that there has been no terror attack in the FCT since the Buhari administration assumed office. The minister further advised citizens to be security conscious and report suspicious people and objects to the security agencies. Well, that's the information we have on this. But before our panelists, take on their thoughts on this issue, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we will begin discussion on this. Stay with us on Human Rights Radio 101.1.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining.
Are you looking for a stimulating working environment with exciting projects and an amazing 100,000 naira salary? For full details on how to apply, visit www.mylearningacademy.com and check the announcement page for more details. My Learning Academy, your reliable online learning educational partner. www.mylearningacademy.com.
Human Rights Radio.
Mama Hawa, now where you dey carry table go so?
I just want use antanda take spread this cloth there when I wash for this wire.
You know sabi say this one electric wire?
I sabi now, but
waiting, you know say na danger you dey take the place so in case you no sabi to dey spread the wet cloth on top electric wire fit kill person o. Even sef, no put your television antenna near electric wire. And if you see any electric wire wey rainstorm fall for ground, abeg no near am o. To dey build, buy and sell or to dey perform any kind human activity under power line na invitation to danger. When you dey build your house, you must to leave space between the house and the electricity installation, just as law talk am. Make we all dey follow these simple warnings so that we no go put our life and the life of people wey dey around us for danger.
From where you get all this important information?
From Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, the company wey care well for the safety of im customers for Kogi, Nasarawa and Niger State, plus including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Abuja Electricity Distribution Company want make you stay alive to enjoy them services. Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, power of commitment.
Human Rights Radio.
Trade Fair. It is happening now until 23rd December at Kaura Modern Market, opposite Prince and Princess, with 50% discount on every item you pick. Hurry now while stock lasts.
Human Rights Radio.
Trade Fair. Classic Events present 20 days of Christmas end of the year clearance sales. Save up to 30 to 50% discounts on clothing, unisex children's wear, footwears and shoes, unisex handbags, jewelries, hair products and lots more at Seldora Parks opposite Sunnyville's Homes Junction, Loco Goma, Abuja. Date 4th to 23rd December 2017. Buy directly from wholesalers and distributors. For participation and enquiries, call 08164441665 or 08031506542. At Seldora
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still on to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM Abuja. It's 19 minutes into the 9 o'clock hour, and it's time for us to talk. Well, before we went on that break, we told you about the first story, which is the call for calm by federal government as a result of the recent alert coming from some adversaries by some Western countries, alerting on impending attacks in Nigeria. However, the federal government is saying no cause for alarm, and the security agencies have not let down their guards. Now, I'm not pointing at any government. However, over the years, the many different Nigerian governments will always be on top of a situation after the damage has been done. So what can we say? I mean, should we take the government on its word this time around, saying that, hey, no cause for alarm, we have things under control?
It's coming from Western nations, but I think for years now, even without that alert, we've been living with these terror attacks for some time now. It's what has been going on, and it's what is still going on in many parts of the country, for instance. So, but for some time now in FCT, we've not had such attacks. So we need to take them seriously. The alert, but what we need to do is it's not enough for us to remain calm, but I know the security agencies that we have in the country are on top of their games. They're working even behind to ensure that this does not happen, but it's not enough for us to remain calm. Okay, it's okay for government to allay some fears in Nigerians, but we need to go beyond that. We need to carry out more sensitization campaigns on how to identify dark spots. What should we do as a people, not even government, to ensure that we don't fall victims, to even ensure that this does not happen. We also have roles to play. So I expect government to especially now that the year is coming to an end, we witness this kind of attacks more at this time of the year. So government need to carry out more sensitization campaigns to ensure that people don't fall victims of this kind of attacks, most especially to prevent the attacks from happening. That's what we need. We don't need to even allow these attacks to happen. And that's why we'll talk about intelligence gathering. This is when we need it most. People are going to be traveling a lot. The motor parks are going to be crowded, and markets, activities, going up. So there is a need for us to intensify our intelligence gathering and to ensure that we have at the tips of our fingers all the security tips that are needed to ensure that these things don't happen.
Yeah, and for the people, there is need for everyone to report suspicious activities in their area, because like she rightly said, we know we witness an upsurge in attack, especially, at the tail end of the year. So there is need for everyone to ensure they report, suspicious activities. And then, as we all well know, crowded places, are usually their soft targets. Markets, sometimes banks, supermarkets, and everywhere that is crowded. So there is also need for people to be security conscious, be at alert. And then one notice at the heart of Boko Haram attacks, there were security measures at all these places, but at the moment you notice that a lot of these places have begun to relax all the security measures that they put in place to check vehicles before they park at car parks,
roadblocks and stuff like that.
No, even at car parks, markets. Before now, you notice that a lot of places, before you can even enter the car park, they carry out checks and all that. They even have some detectors they use to check. But in the FCT at the moment, you may have noticed that some places have relaxed these security measures, and there is need for everybody to be security conscious. Let's see this as there is need for us to forestall an occurrence. So people have to bring back all the security tips that used to exist, like at cinemas, at shopping malls, and all that. Before any car park, just ensure you carry out checks. Even though you feel there is nothing untoward about a particular car, just still ensure you carry out check. Because in so doing, you are trying to protect your life and the lives of more than one Nigerians that will be there at that particular time.
So from what you're saying, it looks like what we have obtainable now is a bit relaxed situation in town when we're talking security.
Usually, what happens usually is when these attacks go on, we now beef up security, we start doing things, and then when the time passes, we relax. So like Olive is saying, that's not what we should do, because the fight against this scourge is still ongoing. So we don't have to relax at all. And we should be aiming at preventive measures. We should be aiming at preventing these attacks, not reacting to the attacks that we do. I know there are lots of these attacks that must have been halted. They never took place. We don't know. We don't work with the security agencies. I know they're doing their part, but let's ensure that, especially at this time, that we know that the people are very vulnerable. Let's intensify those security measures to ensure that, you see, the parks now, people be going in and out, and this may be targets, markets, like Olive said, and all these places, schools. Now you drive to a school, nobody is really checking anything again.
Like they used to.
No, they used to. I went to a school in Gwagwalada the other weekend, and they just opened the gate for me, and I entered. Nobody checked my booth, nothing.
In fact, in some places, you even notice that even when they ask you to open the gate, they don't really, they see big bags there, they don't even really check anything. It's just like a ceremony. You just open, you fling it open, and then they hit it back.
Tell what is inside
as if they can tell what is inside. So there is need for everyone to at least try to ensure you carry out checks, especially in these places we know to be their soft target. You understand? So we'll be able to nip any attack in the bud instead of trying to talk about security when one or two attacks must have occurred.
And then the lives of our security operatives too matters to us. All right, because they need to be alive before they can protect us. I see most of the times, I see them, they open the gate, and they're bare-chested in the sense that they're not wearing anything. Okay, what if you open and then there's a bomb? What do you do? All right, so I don't know, we need to put more security measures to ensure that even the lives of the security operatives that are trying to prevent or try to safeguard our own lives too are kept. Somebody comes and then you open the gate. Okay, so what happens if there's a bomb?
So they should have all their kids,
yes.
this year. All right, then. So as much as we expect much more from government and security agencies, as members of the general public, we all need to, play our own roles to ensure that, we report whatever we can. All right, moving away from that story to this one here. Transformation towards sustainable and resilient society for all is the theme as the world celebrates persons with disabilities this year. The significance of the day, which is marked on 3rd of December every year, is to promote the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities in all spheres of society and development. As part of activities to mark the day, Human Rights Radio Abuja spoke with some persons living with disabilities, and they told us how disadvantaged they could be, especially as the 2019 general election draws near. Let's listen.
Disabilities in the electoral and political process of our country have been discriminated against, disenfranchised, and have never really been part of the electoral process of their country. Part of the key reason is access to polling unit. How accessible are our polling units, electoral materials to different forms of disabilities? In totality, the electoral process, how has it been inclusive of people with disabilities? To see how, first and foremost, the polling unit layout can be constructed in a way that people with all forms of disabilities, especially wheelchair users, can move freely in a polling unit. The placement of ballot boxes. Is it on a high platform? How can you place it in a position where someone on a wheelchair or on a roller skate can vote without being assisted?
They have the right to be allowed to vote for their choice candidates. If they are deprived, that means they have not been just on their side. Their challenge does not say they are insane. They are sound people. It's just that they are physically challenged, so they should not be segregated from the society.
Most of all these people that are disabled have not been given their place, and it's actually wrong because they are human beings like us. That they are disabled doesn't mean that they are not mentally fit. If our government can put things needed in place, not just voting.
Basically, you discover that in most police stations there is rowdiness, which does not allow most disability to come easily to cast their franchise. So it has actually disenfranchised so many of them. If we have the right policy framework on ground and there are conducive atmosphere at the police station, I believe that will actually give them the voice to come to vote easily.
Okay, those were the voices of some of Nigeria's disabled people as well as those who are not disabled, but then trying to see how government and every other person can include these people in the things that are happening around. How can this be done, really? I mean, one of the challenges here is the inclusion, especially as the 2019 election approaches.
You see, we have about 19 million Nigerians that are physically challenged in one way or the other. And these are people with extra talent, if I may speak. And so if we exclude them, we would be excluding a huge chunk of people in terms of contribution to national development, contribution to personal development, family development, and in all ways. And when you exclude these people, you are proning them to poverty because they're not given the opportunities that they deserve to maximize their potentials. So this is why the issue of the challenges of those living with some sort of one or two kinds of disabilities in the country is very key. How do we begin to tackle it? We have a disability bill that has been passed. You know, this bill has been passed since the time of former President Obasanjo, all right? But I mean, for one thing or the other, which I don't know, he didn't assent to it. He did not assent to it. Even when Jonathan's time came, it was the same thing. Jonathan did not sign the bill into law. And the 8th Assembly too have, they reintroduced the bill and then they passed it. So it's still awaiting assent. But in that bill, they try to capture how they can ensure that those living with disabilities in the country are included fully into the society, into the country, in terms of opportunities, in terms of every other thing. Their social, their economic, and their civil rights are taken care of. That bill also is meant to establish a commission that will take care of the needs of the people living with disabilities in the country in terms of their education, their health care. So it's a beautiful bill that if it's passed and implemented, most of these things that we're talking about will not continue. The bill also specifies how, like, it speaks to physical structures. For instance, if you're building a public house or a public building, should have provisions for those who have disabilities. Even walkways, the roads, when you're constructing, you should take them into consideration in such a way that they will have access the same way other people will have access, you know, to these facilities. So the bill also speaks about stigmatization and discrimination. If you discriminate, for instance, you're liable to some fines. Like, you know, yeah, as a corporate organization, ranging from 1 million, you know, individuals 100, or sometimes even imprisonment. So the bill is there to tackle the issues that affect those living with disabilities. But I don't know why this bill has not been assented by the president, and why we will not, you know, continue. Begin to implement this bill. If we begin to implement it, I think most of the challenges we have will not exist anymore.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very sad thing that even with our level of exposure, we still discriminate, you know, against people living with disability. You find out that even in workplaces, a lot of people disengage them. Once, you know, you may be able-bodied, so to speak, and then one or two things can just make you to get disabled. Because I know a couple of people that got disabled after the, after the Nyanya bomb blast. You know, so it's not something you plan for. Sometimes some things just happen. And then, you know, I tell people that you are, you know, complete today, if that word is okay to be used, you know, if it's appropriate, does not mean you won't be disabled tomorrow. Just something can just happen, because, you know, every day we live in danger. It's only God that, you know, see us through.
But I don't think it's, you know, mere segregation just like that. Because, I mean, especially for employers, I'm sure there are so many things they are trying to look at before they perhaps agree to give offer an employment to someone who may be physically challenged. Moving around depending on the type of challenge the person has.
That exactly is the problem. What are those things they can be looking at? If one leg is off, you know, in other countries you have the artificial limb and
but not
all
many
that
people
they
can
use
afford
and
that,
all
or
that.
maybe
Not
you
many,
don't have
of course,
both
government
limbs.
can come in, to also assist people with disability. Now, we can't say it's okay for someone to go through school for 5 years, graduate as a lawyer or an engineer or a computer scientist, and then you won't give that person an opportunity to work. Because if we keep encouraging things like this, we are making it look like we live in a society where disabled people are only meant to beg. There are a lot of them who have 1,000,001 talent. There are a lot of them who have things to offer to corporate organizations. It must not be, physically challenged. It must not be jobs that will stress them out physically.
Okay.
There are a lot of things they can do.
like someone said, it doesn't mean they are mentally disabled as well.
Exactly. There is ability in disability, and if some have taken it up, upon themselves to say, okay, I need to get an education. When they graduate, why do we not discriminate against them? When there is a job opening, you prefer people that you think, and then a lot of times you even find out that those people you think are able bodies might not even offer you what that person you consider disabled will offer you. And then, as someone in government, like she spoke about the disability bill, I was going to talk about that. And then, when you look at bills like that and you feel, okay, it's not really important to be passed at this particular time and all that, do you forget that something can happen tomorrow and get you disabled? When we build roads, when we talk about public transportation, even in corporate offices, in banks, and a lot of them complained about when it comes to voting. When we can put, measures in place to ensure that we address some of the challenges they might encounter in trying to access a public building and all that, what happens if tomorrow you find yourself in their situation? I think there is a need for, all of us as individuals to begin to have a rethink, about our perception of people with disability. There is ability in disability. Being disabled does not mean, you are mentally deranged or something. Disability that you are disabled does not mean you don't have anything to offer to a corporate organization and all that. And I also think there is need for government to look towards, signing that bill into law, because it will go a long way to address a lot of the plight, people with disability face in the country.
Okay. That being said, you can call in and let's hear your contribution to these issues that we're looking at this morning on X-Ray. The number to call is 081-8999-1011. That's 081-8999-1011.
Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
You're welcome to X-Ray on Human Rights Radio. What's your name?
Hello, you said that I should call back this morning. I didn't call yesterday.
Okay, you will have to call back another time because this is a different program, okay?
Okay.
All right, then. We are done with the other program. It's X-Ray currently, so if you have been listening, you may want to call in and let's get your thoughts on the issues we're looking at. Hello? Please stay away from your radio.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Okay. Sorry, but I just had to end that call. You need to stay away from your radio each time you call, please, so we can avoid this kind of very, very chaotic sound. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to X-Ray. What's your name?
I'm Jesse John, calling from Inclusive Friends Association.
All right. Please stay away from your radio.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so first of all, I think one of the things I would love to say is I heard the conversation earlier, very interesting. But one of the things I just want to make out clear is disability is merely an impairment. So when people see it as a problem or as a challenge, it is not it. It's merely an impairment, but the barriers, access to education, access to employment, access to electoral materials, access to elections, access, to socioeconomic benefits that every citizen should enjoy. All of those access, when the barrier is there, that is when the impairment is made visible. And people see it as this person may not be able to do this. And one of the challenges too that people face, with disabilities is You know, you've rightly started talking about employment. You know, people first see disability, which is the wrong idea. You know, people with disabilities have a lot of potential in them, but you know, one of the major challenges is that as soon as employers of labor see them, you know, they look at the disability first and not even give the person a chance to know if he or she has the capacity or not, you know, to fill in that position that the organization may be needing. And because of the cycle, you know, of marginalization and all of that, it actually even limits the number of people with disabilities that even, you know, acquire education. So it is a spiral cycle, and I think it is a call for everybody in the society, you know, from everyone on the street to the civil society organizations to the legislatures and even to the executives. You know, all of these barriers are everywhere. You know, it's so appalling that, for instance, you know, INEC buildings, how will they even access their secretariat if they are supposed to provide access to elections, you know? So that is a challenge on its own. And there are certain provisions even in the Electoral Act, like Section 56 you know, that needs to be amended. When you make a statement, offside voting or braille or tactile ballot may be, you know, provided. So that phrase, maybe, you know, is something that will not guarantee access except it is made mandatory. And that is when we will be able to see like meaningful backup measures or actions being taken in regards to that. So the challenges are enormous, and it's a call for everyone because disability is something that happens to a lot of people while growing up. So would you wait until you are on the wheelchair or until you cannot see or until, you know, one thing or the other hinders your full participation in society before you begin to put these things in place for people with disabilities? And mind you, this is a huge population. We're talking about 27.3 million Nigerians. It is capable of changing any political decision or changing any socioeconomic condition of a country. So I think it is a call for everyone, and it is a call that is worthy of note and is worthy of also, I think, for advocacy and for actions to be taken in regards to that.
Many thanks for your contribution there.
You're welcome.
All right, that was quite insightful. I mean, while he was speaking, I just had to think of, you know, what, especially people who are living with disabilities right from childhood. I think the entire mindset, because even at that age, having friends to play with, having people, you know, to be around you is a challenge. And so if everyone is growing up with that kind of ideology, I mean, it would definitely reflect in these sectors that we're looking at this morning. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning?
Hello?
Okay, we lost that one. Feel free to call right back, 081-8999-1011. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning?
Hello, good morning.
Welcome. What's your name?
Good morning. Yes, my name is I'm calling from Masokoro.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, it's so sympathetic to hear this kind of issue, and I'm very happy to hear and to listen to your program this morning. The issue with this disability issue is that you were born, if you are still alive on this earth, you never can tell, you never complete your mission on this earth. So nobody will say tomorrow there is not going to be a member of disability or to be a disability, to have a serious physical challenge issues. I was born, I was not dream, or I can't question God for that. But the issue is that I learned the advisor to the president on disability. The man, I watched him on NTA, was it on NTA or something, 3 days back, sorry. So the man said the bill was before the National Assembly, in the National Assembly. So it's like we are waiting for the National Assembly to pass the bill, because we can't wait to see why you'll be going somewhere. Even if you are keen on the bank, you see people looking at you, they cannot even tell you, please, you can go from and make your transaction or something, or even the banker, some of them will be looking at you. they don't want to attend to you. The criminality that is with people like us, actually, I'm one of them, because I was known as in meant to be like this. Actually, I can't question God for that. But today, I'm like this. So does not mean I bought it in the market and I can go and buy it in the market. You likewise one day can face the same challenge I'm facing. But actually, it's not easy and it's not good the way people look at you as you are facing. So I really pray and I wish all these bills will be come to pass for people like us to be to live in a society with a good and decent. So that is my take for now.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
Yeah.
All right, 08189991011. That's the number to call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Mike, Change Advocates.
All right, Mike, please go ahead.
Yeah, talking about the bill on people with disabilities. I heard people say it has been passed since the time of Obasanjo, and up to now, Obasanjo did not assent to the bill. Am I right?
Yeah.
What happened to the power of veto? The National Assembly has the power to veto Mr. President's assent to any bill that they pass, and the President does not sign it. Am I right?
Okay.
The issue is they're not serious about this thing. Quote me. I'm saying this thing from an informed position that if there's any bill that the National Assembly passed and the President withheld his assent, the National Assembly has the power to veto that Mr. President's signature assent, and then they'll make it into law, provided the majority of both houses of the National Assembly, the House of Rep and the Senate, the majority of them agree to that. They can veto that President's assent, and it becomes law. So the point I'm trying to make here is that they're not really serious about it. If they're serious about it, they know how to go about it. And one thing some of us are pushing, especially from the issue of the National Assembly or their representatives at all levels, this issue of their voice votes they use in passing bills and motions and all of that, it's making us, we don't know how they're representing us actually. Because, like the National Assembly particularly, they have electronic voting devices fitted in their chambers. So instead of them using that voice vote, they can use that electronic voting device so we can track representation and know who among them are representing us well. So if they're hiding on the behind the finger that Mr. President withheld his assent, they're not serious because they can veto that the President's signature if he's not signing. That's my take. Good morning.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for your contribution. The line is still open. Feel free to call in. Okay, I think we can pick a call or two again. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to make comments, surrounding the bill. Currently, there are like two versions of the bill, and what the disabled community is actually waiting for now is for the House of Representatives and House of Senate, to quickly harmonize this bill for the President's assent. So that I would say is the current status. So the harmonization is one thing that is actually delaying things. So, and I think a lot of executives are on it to see to it that, the bill is actually harmonized. Then also, I would love to say, this is the first time I'm listening to this radio station. So, do you have a social media platform where you continue this conversation so that meaningful, ideas and all of that will be thrown, into the platform for sustained engagement?
Yeah, you can join us on Facebook, Human Rights Radio 101.1.
Okay. I am Jesse John calling from Inclusive First. And we are currently running a campaign called the Access Nigeria, which is to improve the participation of people with disabilities in the electoral process.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. 08189991011. That's the number to call. We'll pick one final call on this, and then we take your final thoughts in the studio. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Good morning. Welcome to X-Ray.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
All right. I'm not sure he can hear me. We'll just have to end that, and hopefully let's see which other call will come through. 08189991011. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning. Welcome to X-Ray. What's your name?
My name is Omar.
All right, go ahead.
I very quickly appreciate the program.
Thank you.
God bless you. God bless Kumara Radio.
All right, thank you. And you too. Okay, a call to appreciate the station. Well, we thank you so very much for keeping tabs with us. What's your reaction to the calls we have received so far?
Yes, they all spoke very well. There's a need for us to ensure that we move away from discrimination against those living with disabilities, because we're just one. And disability does not mean, if you are impaired in one way or the other, does not mean that you cannot contribute. You have your full potentials to contribute and to be what you want to be. The only thing needed is for every one of us, whether you're living with any kind of disability or not, to have the right education and the right skill that is needed to contribute, to develop ourselves. That's all that we need. And the bill, like we said, it's a beautiful bill if we pass that bill. So there's a need now for the House of Representatives to do their part, and then to ensure that both chambers harmonize, and then if possible, our current president passes it, and then if he assents it, then implementation becomes key. It shouldn't be that kind of bill that when it's passed, we sit down, we don't implement. We need to continue, to begin to implement it immediately. So I think it's just a wake-up call as we celebrate this day, that we harmonize the bill and then let the president pass it into law, and then we'll start full implementation.
Then 2019 is just a stone throw away. Let's look at ways to ensure that we make it easier for them to be able to exercise their franchise. And then they also need adequate representation in governance, because no one will speak to the plight of someone with disability like someone close. You understand if you have been through what they are going through. So I think they really need representation in when it has to do with governance and all that.
Well, finding their way, to that place where they will fully, represent themselves is still another thing. If we're still talking about government, or the president assenting to it and all that. But let's hope that what we're talking about right now will, maybe a short time to come, will be a past tense, and then we look at hopefully implementation, and then everyone.
And the parents need to do their part. If you have a child that is impaired in one way or the other, don't give up on that child. Ensure that you give full education to that child. Give equal opportunity and equal chances to all your children, whether they are disabled or not. If you give them the right education, most of the problems will be out of it.
All right. Many thanks to you here in the studio, and as well those who were able to call in on the program via the telephone. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. We'll do this again tomorrow. It's Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. I'll be back in the 10 o'clock hour on Pro Bono Chambers. Stay with us.
We are the joy of our nation. We are the unity of our nation. We are the makers of our heritage. We X-ray topical national issues and the trending matters of our time. Examined, dissected, and analyzed. With our team of analysts, you can be sure of an incisive discourse. 9 a.m., Mondays to Fridays. X-ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, Abuja.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough. Give me 101.1 effort.
Join our diverse team of legal experts as we provide education and guidance to you, our listeners, on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Pro Bono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
A wasu shekarun tarihi da yawa can baya, ɗan Adam ya tsinci kansa ne cikin wata irin rayuwa mara tsari. Ka sha wahala ka nemo da guminka wanda ya fi ka da matsu ya tare ka ya amshe. In ka yi gardama ka ci duka, ka sharɓi kuka irin na cikin zuciya ko mai zub da ruwa sharaf-sharaf babu inda za ka kai kukan ka a share. Tafiya ta tafiya al'umma suka fara ƙagauta da samarwa kawunan su hukuma don sadaukar da haƙunansu ta kare. To kuwa ashe tunda dai ita kanta gwamnatin da sahalewar mabiya aka samar, ya zama wajibi a samu hanyoyin sako su cikin sha'aninta su san me ke faruwa don nuna gamsuwa ko kuwa jan hankali da ƙalubalantar ɓangaren da ya karkace don mahukunta su ƙara saita sahunsu. Zauren 'yan majalisu da 'yan siyasa na gidan rediyon Human Rights wani tanadi ne ga 'yan ƙasa mai matsayin wata ƙofar shiga cikin sha'anin jagoranci dumu-dumu. A dama a kurɓe tare da jama'a ba tare da barin su can gefe ba. Shirin zauren 'yan majalisu da 'yan siyasa na zuwa gare ku ne tun daga Litinin har zuwa Alhamis da misalin karfe 11 na kowace safiya daga gidan rediyon Human Rights mita 101.1.
Samu abin da muke nema. Sauraro Radio. Ra'ayinka ba je yau ga dama. Sauraro Radio. Ba bambanci ko ko sama. Sauraro Radio. Idan kare haƙƙin mu su kai har ma. ƴanci mu faɗi nan ma. Wannan shine girma sai Human Rights Radio. Human Rights sun zo. Idan kare haƙƙin mu. 101.1 ita ce bitar da ake samun su. Abin da ya dame ku ku garzayo ku faɗa masu ga dama.
Come up to me.